The Vikings were polytheistic. Their belief in the Viking gods was an important part of their daily life. Viking mythology wasn't written down, but passed down from generation to generation orally, through stories and poems. Most of what we know about Viking mythology comes from texts that were written after the Vikings converted to Christianity. This gives us several problems. Firstly, they are written hundreds of years after the events they describe, therefore society had changed greatly in that time. Secondly, they were written for entertainment. Despite containing real historical figures, real historical events, and real historical locations, supernatural creatures and events are included in the stories that are not real. For example, Draugr, reanimated corpses, elves, dwarves and trolls. According to Viking mythology, there are 9 worlds, or realms, connected to each other by a giant tree, called Yggdrasil, see page 93. At first, only Muspelheim and Nilheim existed. When the hot and cold air of these 2 realms mixed, the Jotun, giant, Ymir, and the cow, Audhumla were created. More and more gods appeared, created from Ymir's sweat and blood, until eventually, they decided to kill Ymir. They used his body to create the world. His flesh became the land, his bones became the mountains, his skull was the sky, his hair was the trees, his sweat and blood were the rivers and seas, his brains were the clouds and his eyebrows became Midgard. 2 humans were then created by the gods and given the realm of Midgard. The Vikings also believed in Ragnarök, a great battle where many of the gods would die, there would be numerous natural disasters, and the world would be drowned. The Vikings believed that the gods were responsible for how their lives turned out, and so would sacrifice animals to keep them happy. They did not have a heaven or hell, just a land for all the dead. However, they believed that if you died, with honor, in combat, you could go to Valhalla and dine with the gods, or be chosen to go to Folkvangr, a field where the goddess Freyja ruled. They also worshipped their dead ancestors, and believed in magic, and predicting the future through divination. There are many gods and goddesses in Viking mythology, as well as other supernatural beings. Odin was king of the gods. He only had one eye as he gave up his other eye so he could drink from a well which would give him wisdom. His 2 ravens were called Hugin and Munin, and he rode an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir. Thor was the god of thunder. Had a magical hammer called Mjolnir that could summon lightning, and was powerful enough to kill giants. He was said to be the strongest of the gods. He was the protector of Asgard and Midgard. Freyja was responsible for making crops grow. Was the god of fertility, sunshine and rain. He had a magical boar called Gullinbursti which he would ride. Had a twin sister called Freyja. Freyja was the goddess of love and known for being beautiful. Traveled in a chariot pulled by cats, or sometimes rode a boar. She was also a goddess of battle and death. Tyr was the god of war and justice. Had only one hand due to the other being bitten off by Fenrir, a giant wolf. In some Viking myths, his father is Odin, in others it is a giant called Hymir. Frigg, goddess of marriage and family. Married to Odin, was able to perform a type of magic called Sida, which meant she could change the future. Some historians think that Frigg and Freyja may have been the same goddess.